Well, hello there. It's me, Jessica, your health fitness program manager from Reclined, and I'm coming to you this afternoon from the amazing storage room because I wanted to make sure that you got to enjoy a fresh new Yin Yoga class. Today's class has a lot of postures that are really just going to help us open up those legs and hips. If you're like me, you've been training for our virtual or in-person 5K. You've been joining us for a lot of our awesome straining workouts, and your lower half is a little tired. Let's be polite and say that. So meet me in whatever space you created for yourself. We're gonna start in 4 minutes. You do not have to have any props today. However, if you know that your body is pretty tight, I really encourage you to bring along some blocks. That would probably be the most useful for you today, especially if doing a lower lunge makes it really hard for you to reach down towards the floor in a low lunge, and you'd rather have some blocks that you can place your hands on to be a little lifted. You can always put that knee down to the floor for stability, but that might be a place where blocks come into play. Also, we have a couple positions where we're going to be sitting with our legs straight in front of us. If your hamstrings are really tight, being lifted either on a block or a rolled up towel or some sort of a cushioning can help to just bring a little extra opening to the back side of the body. And if you don't have any props today, you're like me, and we're just going to do the best that we can with the bodies that we have. Awesome. So you got 3 more minutes to just take your time, make your space for yourself, make your way down onto your mat. We're going to get started in Savasana. Cool. I just realized I forgot to write down the length of time that each posture should be. So you know what? We're going to wing it. Because it's yoga, and it's supposed to be fun and relaxing. And no matter what, that's how we're going to feel when we're done. So enjoy the next 2 minutes to do whatever feels right for you. We're not going to have any actual water breaks during this class. However, if you need to take a drink of water, go for it. I encourage you to wait. Grab that water between postures. Do your best to find complete stillness as we start with our asanas. And hopefully it'll be so quiet in here that you can zone out just a little bit to the sound of the ticking clock right behind my camera, which I think is crooked. So I'm just going to mess with that real fast. Oh, how about them apples? All right, so you got 1 more minute before you lay down on your back for Savasana. You're welcome to get there right now to start relaxing early or to just find the movement that works for you. I'm dressed a little warmly today because I know it's very cold here in the building, and that being warmer helps to open up your muscles, ligaments, tissue a little bit more. We're going to hold our stretches for longer than a traditional yoga class today. It is a more restorative form of yoga. So get ready to just relax and be. And that's it. All right, so making our way onto our backs for Savasana. We'll stay here for the first just about 3 minutes. Ooh. Do your best to really relax that lower back onto the mat and already working towards stopping any fidgeting. Throughout today's class, as we get into a posture, do a scan from the top of your head all the way down to the tips of your toes and ask yourself where you might be able to relax a little bit more. Notice if you hold the tension in your shoulders and you're curling your shoulders off the floor, or even if you hold the tension and you're pursing your lips or furrowing your brow. I know for me, I like to wear my shoulders as earrings when I feel stressed, and I squeeze my glutes like we're making diamonds back there. Remember that if your eyes are moving, your mind is moving, so either finding one spot to relax your eyes or closing them. Take this time to really tune into your breath. Use that inhale for awareness. Inhaling in, starting the scan of your body, noticing how you feel. Exhaling out to let it go. Let go of stress, tension, expectations, and do your best to be right here, right now, in this moment, in this breath. Doesn't matter what happened in your last breath. Doesn't matter what kind of stillness you can bring to your next breath. Just appreciating this. While we're relaxing in Savasana, one of the easiest postures that we're doing today, focus on the quality of your inhale. Where are you breathing? Without my having asked you. Were you breathing all the way down to the bottom of your diaphragm, or were your breaths at the top of your chest? Are you taking the time to exhale all of the stale air out? And if not, work to focus a little bit more on these two things. Inhaling in, feeling your lungs full, taking a moment with those expanded lungs and diaphragm, and exhaling out. Hopefully even a bit slower than your inhale. It's going to help to bring your heart rate down, to increase the sensation of relaxation. Last two breaths right here. On your next inhale, we're going to slowly bring those arms up overhead. You can either trace them along the sides of the floor like you're making a snow angel, or just reach them up overhead. So starting with our body in a nice straight line. Keep your hips at the center of the mat and walk your legs all the way over to the right, as much as feels comfortable for you. And with those hips still at the center line, we're going to walk our hands over to the right as well. You can grab hold of your opposite thumb for a little something to be holding on to, which I know can help you relax. If it feels good, you can even cross your inner leg over your outer leg to enhance the stretch through the left side of the body. If that feels too much for you, you can always release those legs. You can experiment with crossing the right leg over the left and seeing what that does for you. Once you have found your posture, come into your stillness. Scan your body head to toe. Where can you relax more? Can you create a little bit more space, perhaps in your shoulders, perhaps just in your mind's eye? And focus on pushing that left hip towards the side of the room to expand the stretch on the left side. Take your last 3 to 4 breaths on this side of banana pose. And then if you Uncross your legs, carefully, gently uncross your legs, separate your hands, walk your feet back to the center line of the body. Walk your arms back to the center line of the body. Maybe even shake those hips out gently. And then let's walk our feet all the way over to the opposite side. And then walk our hands over to the opposite side. So this time we're pressing through the right side hip, getting a big stretch all throughout the right side of the body. Feel free to experiment with crossing one leg over the other. Remember, we're working to create a noticeable stretch. And sometimes your noticeable stretch might even be uncomfortable, and that's okay, but it should not be painful. You shouldn't be in a stretch so deep that it is limiting the amount that you're able to breathe today. And if you are, come out just a little bit. Find a spot where you can still continue to enjoy these deep belly breaths. If your stretch is so intense that you have to go out and in and out and in, again, that's a great opportunity to find a lesser stretch that you can hold the whole time. And I know that it's a mystery because you have no idea how long each asana is going to be, and that is all part of just letting it go here right now. Letting it go and doing the best that you can and living in the moment. Last couple breaths here for banana pose on the second side. If you cross those legs, carefully uncross them, gently release those hands, walk your feet back to the center line. Bring your arms back to the center line, and then with elbows bent, you can drag them down, or feel free to make that snow angel one more time to release your arms down to the side of your body. Take another moment in this Savasana. Create a little more space as you can. Shoulders away from ears, keeping that belly pulled in. Next up, we're going to start wind removing pose, and we're going to do wind removing on one side and then turn it into a spine twist. All right, so keeping that left leg straight in line with your hip, we're gonna draw that right leg up. You can pull it out wide away from the body to avoid your rib cage, and then back up towards your chest. Go ahead and release all 10 fingers all the way up to the webbing in a nice tight anti-arthritic grip, and place that on the top of your shin. Use your exhale. You can bend your elbows to bring your knee closer towards your chest, to bring the back of your head and shoulders more towards the mat. Really work to press that left shoulder down to the mat. Notice if you're rolling over to the right side, and draw that belly in once more. As you're pulling on your shin, you're also pressing that shin into your hands, palms to create an equal and opposite contraction. Shoulders are down away from the ears. If you are pushing and pulling, you'll feel the pinching compression sensation in your lower right abdomen. That is your ascending colon. Let's take a couple more breaths right here. Keep your left hand on top of your shin. You can release your right hand, maybe even stretch it out to the side. We're gonna roll over onto the left side hip, oof, and come into a spine twist. I'm feeling real tight, so I'm using my inner sole of the foot to relax on the inner edge of my left leg. But this is one of those great opportunities. If you have a prop, you can place a prop, a pillow, a book, whatever you've got, either between your legs or between your inner thigh and the floor to help you relax in your twist. If it feels right for you today, turn and look in the opposite direction of your knee. Get your neck involved in the party, and let's take 5 slow breaths right here, as slow as you can. Goal is to inhale in for 5 or 6 counts, exhale out for 5 or 6 counts, so at the end of these 5 breaths, we will just about have finished a minute. On your next exhale, we're going to carefully roll onto our back, coming out of our spine twist, and send your right leg down to meet with the left. Take a moment to bring your heels together to touch. Let those toes fall open. To release your arms down by your side, we'll take another minute in Savasana before we pass through to the other whimper moving and spine twist. Great, flex your toes back towards your face. Keep your right heel where it is. And let's draw that left leg up. Bring it out all the way from your rib cage. Interlace all 10 fingers up to the webbing. Lay them flat on top of the shin and then roll your right shoulder back onto the mat. Feel free to take that bend in your elbows. You're using a little bit of that upper body to access and stimulate your digestive organs here. So take that gentle pull. Take that bend of your elbows. Create that space of shoulders away from ears. Let's just breathe into it right now. And let's turn this into our spine twist. So right hand towards the outside of the left knee. Extend your left arm to the side and then carefully roll over onto your right hip. You can keep that knee bent. You can extend your legs out. You can do whatever feels good for your body because it's your practice. No expectation, no judgment. Just creating that noticeable stretch, something a little noticeable. Inhaling in, you're aware. Exhaling out, let go. Just a couple more breaths here. We've got one last posture on our back before we sit ourselves up. Next, we're going to go for a reclined bound angle. So carefully use your breath and roll over onto your back once more.
Go ahead, plant your left foot on the floor, bend your right knee, plant the sole of the right foot on the floor. Ooh, press into the feet. To lift your back up, to really glue it down onto the mat. Maybe you even start to windshield wipe your knees gently right and left. Find what feels good for you. Bring the soles of your feet together. Allow those knees to fall out heavy towards the side. If this is really complicated for you, if your hips are really tight and your knees are nowhere near the floor and you don't have a prop, then go ahead, walk those feet a little further forward. Brings a little bit more of the stretch towards the upper back as well, but hopefully you now feel it in those hip flexors. If they're still feeling really tight and you're in a cold room like me, go ahead and pet them like a cat. Meow. Take a couple seconds, just warm that space up a little bit more, because with warmth comes a little extra movement. All right, and now find that complete stillness. We're going to stay here for just about 1 minute. It is normal to feel trembling, to experience twitching or shaking during a yin class while we hold these postures longer than usual. So if you're starting to notice that there's just a little tremble in your hips, in your legs, even in your hands, enjoy it. That means you are making those connections and just waking up dormant connections and changing your body. All right, next we're going to make our way to knees to chest pose. So go ahead, bring those inner thighs back towards each other. Walk those legs in, pull your belly in, maybe even tuck your pelvis slightly. Get as much of your lower back on the mat, and then draw one knee up to the chest and then another. So we're finishing out that wind removing pose, Pavanguktasana. Does the right leg, the left leg, and then both. So we stimulated the ascending colon, the descending colon, and this stimulates the transverse colon. If you want, you could even squeeze those legs in towards each other. A little more stimulation of the belly. Keep as much of the back of your head and neck flat on the mat as possible. And then create some extra space, drawing your lats down, shoulders away from ears, elbows stretched towards hips. Maybe even a slight choking sensation of your throat as you look towards your knees. You might have given yourself double or triple chins here. That's okay, enjoy it. Getting into that throat chakra. And then when you're ready, we're gonna make our way to a seated position. So you can either have some fun and roll yourself up like a ball, or maybe you roll over onto the side and you press yourself up. Oh my gosh. Ooh, into a fetal position. All right, from here we're gonna go into half dragonfly or separate leg stretching. I'm gonna start by extending that right leg out, but we're not turning towards the right leg yet. Ooh, so fold that left leg in. Maybe the sole of the left foot is touching, oh my gosh, hiccups, the right thigh bicep.
and maybe it's not. If your hamstrings are really tight, you might already want to sit yourself up on a block. Perhaps you're so tight you need to bring your hands behind you. You can get a little bit of a chest opener here. But if you're not feeling any sort of a stretch in those legs, we're going to gently hinge forward. So starting off with this delightful forward position, we're going to hang out here for 1 more minute, and then we're going to turn towards our extended leg. So remember, we're creating a noticeable stretch, and it could be uncomfortable. For me, I'm having some real tightness in my bent knee, and I'm feeling this stretch a lot, and it takes a lot to stay still and not just stay still. Can you look like you're enjoying yourself a little bit? I'm not here to tell you that you have to smile, because you don't. But if someone walked by, would you look like you enjoyed yoga? Hopefully the answer is yes. Bring some relaxation to your face. Try to let that tension melt away. And then let's go ahead and walk our fingers, twist our bodies as much as we can. So make sure that you create that length first. I've got my core pulled in for some stability. I'm really pressing through my sit bones to the mat and finding the range of motion that works to turn towards the extended leg. You don't have to flex your toes back towards your face. You can allow your toes to fall away. Just a little bit of a twisted half dragonfly. Next, we're going to come into deer pose. So bringing a little bit more weight to your bent knee. We're going to bend our straightened leg and just bring it down to the floor behind us. Work to relax that glute to the floor and play around a little bit with the positioning of this bent leg. Maybe you like to have it really far away. Maybe you like to bring it in a little bit closer. I like bringing it a little bit closer. It brings a little more stretch to the top of the hip flexor and into the quad, which feels good for me, but find what feels good for you. If your lower back is really smarting, even bringing your hands towards your bent knee and finding some length can help you just open that lower back a little bit more. Create some stillness. Let's hang out here for 1 minute. Do your best to keep working towards bringing your back leg glute towards the floor. I assure you mine is currently not touching. This is a great opportunity, once again, to use either a rolled up towel, maybe a t-shirt, whatever you've got around, to just scooch it under there. Find a little bit more support. All right, we're gonna come into double pigeon or fire logs. So bring more weight into your left leg. We're gonna extend the right leg again, draw it all the way in front of us, like you're drawing your toe through sand, and then end as if we're going to do a spine twist with the outer edge of your right ankle by your left knee. As we sit our glute down, you can stack one leg on top of the other. You can bring that bottom leg out a little bit further. And if your hips are really tight, you might find yourself just sort of leaning towards your left glute with that right knee up really high. Use your props to place them between the outer edge of your knee and the sole of the foot to sit down as much as you can. And if that feels like too much for you, go ahead, open it up. Maybe you even find yourself in a version of success in meditation, or perfect pose. But if you can, try this double pigeon fire log. I encourage you to give it a whirl. We'll be here for 30 more seconds. Flex those toes towards each other, towards your shins. If you don't feel any stretch in the hips yet, hinge forward. And if it's too tight, lean back, create that stillness. We got 15 more amazing seconds. Take your time, let's carefully come out. So hands come behind you, we're gonna extend those legs in front of us. Take a moment, bob your knees, windshield wipe your feet, sit yourself up, hanging out in caterpillar. So first, finding some length through the crown of your head, keeping that belly pulled in, we can hinge forward. You can use those props underneath of your belly. Once you've found your length, if your back feels good, then you can find some rounding. Maybe even support your head on your hands. We'll take 5 breaths here. If you hinged forward on your next exhale, let's lift ourselves up. Maybe bring those hands behind you. Shake it out one more time. We'll do those same postures on the other side. So this time, opposite leg goes out. Draw your other foot in, as close or as far away as feels good for you. Feel free to roll around a little bit. To position your glutes the way that feels best. I was gonna say butt knee, and then I thought that sounded wrong, and then I thought it sounded so right, I had to tell you. All right, so we're hanging out once again in half dragonfly. Remember, you can have those hands behind you if having your hands in front of you is too much of a stretch. Just make sure you're finding that stretch, find your stillness, create some relaxation, space of shoulders away from ears. Just be. Last 2 breaths right here. All right, next up is deer pose. So shifting the weight towards our bent knee, we now bring the other leg into the bent knee party, either going for 2 90-degree angles. You can have your hands behind you. You can fold that back leg in a little bit more, get more into the quad. And then that hip flexor, you can stretch that lower back out by creating a twist and bringing your hands in front of you. You just need to find something that works, that you can be still in. We got just over a minute right here. It's about 5 to 6 super slow breaths. Make sure you're taking that pause at the top and bottom of your breath, really noticing the feeling of lungs full and expanded, and also appreciating lungs empty. said we were gonna do cow face on the other side, and then I totally forgot. So forget it on this side too. We're gonna switch right to double pigeon. So extending your left leg out behind you, and then tracing it through the sand to bring the outside edge of your ankle to your right knee. You're gonna wiggle the shin of the right foot forward, sit back down on my glutes and stack those legs as much as possible. I'm not pressing the ankle bone against the knee because that can be really uncomfortable. There's some room on each side for the feet to wiggle around. Remember, you can place a prop between your legs and there's no judgment because both sides of the body are not the same, so do the best that you can with this side of the body. You can have your hands behind you. If you don't feel anything, hinge forward, flex your toes towards each other. Just breathe. And on this next exhale, we're going to release once more into our caterpillar. So go ahead, send those legs in front of you, windshield wipe them, bob them up and down, and we'll find a little gentle forward fold once again. So I'm not rounding to bring my chest towards my hips. I'm pulling my belly forward so belly comes towards thighs. If you need to, if you're super tight, you don't have a block to sit up on, simply bend those knees. Better to take a bend of those knees and find some support of belly towards thighs than to stress or strain that lower back by not pulling your chest forward. Awesome. Let's come on into tabletop. We got just a couple postures left. My laptop died, so I have no idea how long we've been practicing, but I know that we're going to get through these next two postures on each side. All right, so give yourself a little cat-cow. You still are going to make it through a little dragon pose, so another hip opener, a little pigeon pose, so another hip opener. Opening them hips real good today. All right, shake it out. In cat and cow, get a little bit of free movement. Ooh. Getting some circles into my neck right here. I'm hearing a lot of crunching and cracking. And I'm reminding myself that we haven't done neck circles in a long time, and I should think about that next week. All right, so go ahead, tuck those toes under. We're gonna send our hips up towards the ceiling. You can pedal through your heels in down dog. If you want, you can even press up onto your heels and shift them side to side to bring the stretch a little bit more to the side of the body. And next up, we're going to take a three-legged dog. You can do whichever leg you want to do first. I'm going to keep my right leg down on the floor just so you can see best. Inhale that left leg up towards the ceiling, and then shift forward into a mountain climber plank, sort of, as I bring my left leg forward. Oh, I lied. We're doing dragon first. As I bring the sole of the foot down towards the floor, and you can release that back knee down towards the floor and untuck your toes and hinge forward in those hips in the hip opener. If that's too wide for you, come on back to something that looks a little bit more like tabletop. Just find a place where you can hold your breath. I'll stay right here. We can hold our breath together. Sorry, I don't mean hold your breath. Hold your stillness. We're still breathing. Make sure that breath isn't limited is what I meant to say. Let's take 2 more breaths here on this side. And then we're gonna tuck that back toe under. We're gonna come back into an upright lunge. And we're gonna send our back leg back, coming into 3-legged dog once more. Maybe you this time bend your knee, make some circles and open your hip. Make some circles in the opposite direction. Square your hips and shoulders to the mat. Stretch that back leg up and then draw it forward. This time we're gonna come into our pigeon. So bend that front knee and then walk, wiggle your back leg back. You can stay lifted in your pigeon pose. Or you can always come on a little closer down towards the mat. Just find what feels good for your body today. Slow down your breath. 3 more breaths. Make sure you're not sitting on the glute of your front bent knee. You're working to bring the hip flexor of your extended leg behind you towards the mat. If you came down onto your forearms, we're gonna lift ourselves back up again. Tuck your back toe under, send your leg up one more time, 3-legged dog, and then plant it on the floor. Pedal through your heels. Let's do the same thing on the opposite side. So starting at 3-legged dog, send your other leg up towards the ceiling, and then bring it forward. Even if you have to bring it forward, chug, chug, chug. Release your back knee down towards the floor for a little bit of dragon hip opener. Create some space, draw your shoulder blades towards each other. Shoulders gently come away from the ears. You can allow that knee to even fall heavy to the side if that's what feels best for your body today. We'll take 3 more breaths right here. Then tuck those back toes under. Lift that knee up off the mat. Send your leg up into 3-legged dog. Once more, make some circles if you want. Bend that knee, open your hip a little bit more. Then square your hips and shoulders to the mat. Back leg extends. Draw it in into your little mountain for just a moment. And release down into your pigeon. Walk your back knee back. You can stay lifted in your pigeon. Or if it feels right for you, you can bring your forearms down. Just a couple more breaths right here. Coming towards the end of our class today. We're gonna take a nice big shoulder stretch, and then we'll turn over for our final Savasana. So once more, if you went down to the mat, press yourself up, tuck your back toe under. Let's go ahead, send that right leg up one more time. Bring it down, bend those knees, send your hips back towards your heels. Come right into child's pose. Find the child's pose that feels good for you. If it doesn't feel good, to have your arms extended all the way forward. Take a generous bend of your elbows. Gently press yourself back up into tabletop cat-cow it out one more time. Look over your opposite shoulders. Get into that side body. And then go ahead, cross your legs behind you. You can walk your knees up, or you can simply sit your glutes down. Extend those legs in front of you. Take your time, carefully lay down on the mat. And we're gonna come into our final Savasana. We already made it, I think. Allow those heels to touch, toes to fall open, but you can open your arms as wide as you want. You can open your legs as wide as you want. If it feels better to have one hand on your heart
and one hand on your belly. Go for it. Continue to enjoy some big, deep belly and body breaths. And one more chance, one more posture to scan yourself from head to toe and notice how you're feeling today. Where can you create some extra relaxation here at the end of class? Hopefully you're a bit more tuned into where your tension is being held, and it's easier to use that exhale to relax, release, and let it go. We will still have Yin Yoga next week. I look forward to guiding you during our awesome Fit Fest. Check out our schedule. We've got 6 or 7 different classes coming at you every single day next week. A variety of teachers, of formats. You can get a little nutrition education. You can recharge with some meditation. You can try out a different format. And I highly recommend looking at the personal training live classes that we have. As here at MITRE, we can now offer you some one-on-one, either in-person or virtual personal training. If you've got some friends and it motivates you to work out with others, consider some small group training. We just want to help support you and make sure that you find what works, so that you stick with it, so that you see results and feel good. I encourage you to stay down here in this final Savasana for as long as you can. And what does that mean? That means I encourage you to stay in this final Savasana for a couple breaths longer than you actually wanted to. If class finishes and you normally rush up off of your mat like you're done, you're really missing out on giving yourself the opportunity to let your practice soak in both physically and mentally. Take this time to reflect on how you feel after you do yoga. What does changing your breath do for you physically and mentally? Know that you can feel this great both on and off the mat at any time if you just find one spot to focus your eyes, focus on your breath, and tune into yourself. If you have any questions or concerns about anything that I said or we did today, I hope that you will reach out. Till we are together again live on Zoom next week, where I can't wait to see you. I encourage you to think good thoughts, speak good words, eat good foods, do good deeds. Take the time to nourish yourself from the inside to the out, because if you know that you're worth it, if you give yourself that time, energy, and love, other people will know that you're worth it too. And more good things will come your way. I promise. If you believe and if you focus on yourself, you will achieve in time. When you're ready, you can make your way off of your mat. If it feels good to you, you can bring your hands to heart center with your thumbs touching on your chest, taking a moment in a mudra of our hands, Anjali Mudra. Please know that the light within me honors, sees, and is so thankful for the light within you. I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of their day. Namaste.